Hey guys, Otto here from Acquisition Partner. Now, in today's video, what I'm going to do is solve a problem for you, okay? And the specific problem I'm going to solve is going to help you go from charging a maximum of $1,000 to $2,500 per month retainers to being able to actually command fees upfront of $6,000 to $12,000 before you've even delivered any of the work, okay? I'm going to make this video less than 10 minutes, okay? So we best get into it and rush through, all right? So the first core component that you're going to have to get in place comes down to this one thing, okay? And there's three components that I'm going to talk through very quickly here. Now, number one is your offer, okay? Now, before you click off this video and think, oh, not another video about how to create a Grand Slam offer, that's not what this video is about. I'm not going to talk to you about the components of a good offer and what you should be including and what you shouldn't, okay? You can Google that, you can look it up, it's not hard, all right? But what I do want to do is talk to you a little bit about the nuanced pivot that we made to go from commoditized agency to actually being able to deliver incredibly high value and command fees to match it, okay? So when we first started out with our ecom email agency, we were pretty much commoditized from the off, okay? And the reason for that was that we kind of were following the generic advice online and from Klaviyo that we were using as our kind of service delivery tool for the agency. We went out to the marketplace thinking, oh, that's what we need to do. Offer brands, you know, an offer where we say we'll add 20 to 30% of your monthly recurring revenue through email or SMS or your money back, okay? And what we found very, very quickly was that every man and his dog was going out into the marketplace with the exact same offer, okay? So everybody that was using Klaviyo was following their advice and basically leveraging the fact that Klaviyo says, you know, we will help a brand generate 20 to 30% of their monthly recurring revenue through email. So every agency then leveraged that kind of promise and that offer to then go out into the marketplace and pitch to their clients. Well, what happened was, and still happens to this day, is that every single brand gets, you know, 100 offers a day that's exactly the same, okay? And chances are the brands that are getting these offers actually are generating, you know, 40 to 50% plus, as opposed to just 20 to 30% from email and SMS. So we went from commodity to one of one, and I'm going to show you how we did that, okay? So when we first started, that was our offer. We will, you know, generate 20 to 30% of your monthly recurring revenue through email or SMS. And we realized that actually in order to better compete and really step outside of the competition and to be seen as a one of one, we needed to create something that had mind-blowing value at face value, all right? And what we realized was that almost every single brand had previously had their fingers burnt by an agency. So if you are an agency owner or you're a consultant or you deliver any kind of marketing services, the clients that you are trying to pitch to already don't trust you, okay? The frame that you are coming from as an agency owner is already one of distrust, okay? And the reason for that is because marketing and sales and marketing and the kind of agency business model is one of the models with the lowest barriers to entry, okay? So not only have you got people that are incredible and they've had agencies for 20 years and they've got a brick and mortar premises with, you know, 50 members of staff, you've got those guys in theory also competing with, you know, millions of teenagers in their mum's basement trying to turn their hand as an agency owner, okay? So the result of that is that there's increasing, you know, volumes of outreach, there's increasing amounts of spam, and it just creates this, you know, overwhelming level of attrition where brand owners and clients just kind of go numb to your offers, all right? So we realized very quickly that we could leverage that and leverage that to our advantage. So we pivoted our offer. And we, instead of leveraging percentages, we leveraged actual physical, tangible financial amounts of values. So we pivoted from that commoditized offer to then promising to deliver or add 60 to 220K in placed order values via email or SMS within 24 hours or your money back, okay? And what we were able to further then kind of sub-deliver was that we will deliver this within 24 hours what your agency will oftentimes promise yet fail to deliver within 7 to 10 months. Okay, we will actually do that within 24 hours. And what we realized very, very quickly was that this type of offer was enough to spark initial interest and engagement, okay? So if you are confused about what you should do with your offer to make it better, follow suit, do something and make a dramatic change like we did, because if you are, contemplating adding a guarantee or not, chances are that's not going to be enough of a kind of differentiation to make you stand out in the marketplace. All right. So this is the type of change that you need to go through. All right. So ours was 24 hours as opposed to 7 months. Okay. So the second one here is productize. Now, the way that we were able to package together an offer like this was because with our service delivery, we had already built a body of assets that we could, in theory, roll out to any new client that we worked with. Okay, so from working with previous clients, we already had flows, we had campaigns, we had templates, we had segments, and then we had all of the kind of tech and optimization stuff too, all right, and SOPs internally. So what we were able to do was basically realize that if we, instead of calling ourselves an agency and instead of trying to force clients onto 6 to 12 month retainers, which they were just saying no to, what if we were able to actually package all of this into a product that we could then sell underneath this offer and then deliver with standardized terms, where we get paid up front. Okay. So we were able to productize our service, and I've got another video on the channel about how I did that. Another word for productize, or another term, is build and release. So instead of trying to get clients on a 6 to 12 month retainer and then staggering the scope that we were building out for them, we were actually in a position where we could deliver it overnight. We could actually build out all of their infrastructure and then release it, either after payment or, upon payment kind of thing. All right. So number one, offer. Number two, productization. Now, if you run a Facebook ads agency or you do SEO, whatever it might be, you will have assets. You will already have, copy, imagery, adverts that you've designed, whatever it might be. But you will also have internal SOPs. So if you're not able to strictly productize the physical deliverables, in terms of ads or whatever it might be, or not least you might not be able to roll those out, across niches, you'll still be able to productize the delivery of your service through all of the systems and the procedures that you've created. Okay, so there's kind of two elements to it. And again, I've got other videos, there's videos in the community about how we created a build and release agency. All right. So number one, offer. Number two is productization. Number three is price. All right. So with the third core component here is probably the most important. So once you've got a world-beating offer, once you've adequately productized, or you kind of understand how you will productize and deliver your service, you then have to get on to price your service and your product or productized service in a way that makes it difficult for brands and clients to say no to. Okay. Now, the way that we did this was to build something that if they simply compared that to what they would have to pay based on a 6 to 12 month contract with a competing marketing agency, we wanted ours to look insanely valuable. Okay. So for us, starting out at 6K, if they get everything in here, plus, various other elements of our service delivery, if we're billing 6K up front, which they get this overnight, we are basically comparing that to a marketing agency that's going to charge anywhere between probably 3 to 6K per month times 6 to 12 months. Okay, so you can already start to see, I'm terrible at mental maths, but difference here is, 30 to 60K plus versus an initial fee of 6K. Okay, and better yet, we're delivering this productized service with no contracts, no lock-ins. They can basically take all of the assets that we built and run with them, and then no ongoing fees, all right? So 100% ownership. So a lot of times marketing agencies, particularly like SEO agencies, they will build out, assets, and then they will basically not give any sort of insight or inform the client that they will then own those assets. Okay, they don't give ownership to the client. We're saying to the client, once we build it, it's all yours. If you never see us again, you don't want to work with us, you don't have to. There's no tie-ins or anything. What we're also saying is there's no contracts and there's no lock-ins. We're not coming to you with a priority of securing our own projected cash flow. We want to deliver on our promise, and the sooner you pay us, the sooner we're able to do that. And then also, there's no ongoing fees. There's no monthly recurring retainers, performance fees, anything like that, okay? But you might be looking at this equation here, okay? And you might be wondering, if you're charging upfront, doesn't that mean that you are practically sacrificing projected, consistent cash flow on the back end, a retainer? Okay, so the benefit of having a retainer is that you can look at your agency's projected cash flow and you can take a breath and you can say, oh, great, we've got 5 clients, they're all paying us 2K a month, whatever, and we can see over the next 3 to 6 months, this is the revenue we are going to generate. It's a good question, and it's one that I get asked all the time when talking about this model here. And the answer is that you absolutely do not sacrifice projected consistent cash flow on the back end, okay? And the way that you avoid that is through cross-selling. Hopefully you can see that. Cross-selling and down-selling, okay? Now what I'm going to talk about very quickly is our cross-selling and down-selling process. I'm already at 11 minutes. I wanted this to be less than 10 minutes, but there's just too much information to go through. So I'll wrap this up very, very quickly. Now, there are some core principles of buying psychology that we leverage in order to price like this. Okay, so upfront plus a retainer, and then I put in brackets here a commission, okay? And I'm going to leave that to another video, okay? So we're going to talk about upfront and retainer basis and how you can secure this every time, all right? I'm going to shoot over here because I'm running out of space. Change my pen. So when it comes to cross-selling, down-selling, you are basically leveraging 5 core principles of buying psychology. Now, the first 3 I want to talk about is reciprocity plus authority plus the principle of contrast, okay? Now, in delivering overnight, within 24 hours, what a marketing agency would oftentimes promise yet fail to deliver within 7 to 10 months, in doing that, you build a huge amount of momentum and therefore trust with your new client, okay? So within that first initial 24-hour period, they are still hopeful. They are still grateful for what you're doing. They're excited. They are invested. Everything is very fresh, okay? So the recency effect is in full power here, okay? Now, because you have delivered specifically on what you've promised, as part of their buyer psychology, they will feel an internal kind of cognitive bias and a pressure to reciprocate the value that you've delivered, okay? And what we've found is that once we've delivered the initial build, and upon delivery of that immediately, if we then say to them, look, although we've delivered, X number of templates, or 5 campaign types, or 5 foundational flows, actually what we would also recommend, and look, there's no pressure to do it, but we would recommend these 3 advanced flows, okay? This one that integrates with reviews.io or another third-party tool or whatever it might be, okay? Or we think that actually if you, it's September and that we're coming up to Black Friday shortly, so we think actually if you had some fresh Black Friday designs, that would be really good to have in hand. It's going to cost X per month. How does that sound if we also roll that out for you now, okay? The fact that you've over-delivered within this 24-hour period, you've actually proven to them that you've delivered on your promise, regardless of results. You've said to them inputs-wise, this is what we guaranteed, this is what we said we would do, and now we've over-delivered. They're going to feel like they are indebted to you, even though they've paid you, okay? So it's a psychological principle that kind of sounds hard to believe, but it's one that you should be leveraging, okay? And it's something that will be in full effect within this sort of 24-hour, 36-hour period here, okay? The second 2 here is about authority and contrast, okay? So in doing this, you have already solidified your authority. So you've said to them in your sales process, look, we're not a marketing agency, we're a one of one. We deliver a unique transformation. We have unique value. We have no competitors. In doing what you've said you're going to do, you've established and proven your authority, okay, which makes it much easier to then go into cross-selling or down-selling campaign management or additional templates or ongoing account management for a price that is presumably going to be less than 12K per month, okay? Now, the third one here is about the principle of contrast, okay? Now, I've already talked about this a little bit, but it's kind of, in tandem with reciprocity and authority. You have established a huge amount of differentiation between you and the marketplace, okay? So you've said to them in the sales process, we don't have competitors, we're not an agency, and you've proven that through the contrast principle. So they've seen in what you've delivered over 24 hours, you've created and delivered and deployed a technical build. They can see evidence of how you contrast to the marketplace, how you are different, okay? And these three principles here at a core will help you cross-sell and downsell almost 100% of the time, okay? So do this, go after your cross-sells, go after your downsells after you've delivered the build, after they've paid, after they've delivered the build, okay? Don't jump the gun. Don't try and do this before you've delivered the build because you won't be able to leverage these three core principles of buying psychology, all right? Now, the final two principles of buyer psychology I want to talk about very, very quickly here is anchoring and consistency. Now, anchoring is important, okay? Because in charging 6 to 12K fees up front, the prospect and new client has already made the decision to invest in you, okay? And what you've done here is basically anchored and set in stone and created a boundary around what your value is. So you've said, for the value and the transformation that we've delivered overnight, this is our price, this is our fee, okay? They've already paid that, so they agree with that. Their perceived value of you and your service is already high. So when it comes to then setting a price for your downsells and your cross sales, it's much easier to close them on anything that's less than your initial upfront fee because you are leveraging this buyer principle of anchoring, okay? So if you set your upfront fee of, $500 and then you try to pitch them a retainer of $2,000, 9 times out of 10, they are going to decline that, okay? Because they haven't seen the initial value in the build relative to the price that they've paid, okay? The fifth and final principle here is about consistency. And this is an interesting one, relating to buyer psychology, in general. But because the prospect has already invested in you, because they have already voted with their dollars and they've said to you, not only do I believe you and believe that you believe you have, your level of conviction in the transformation that you deliver as a service provider, but I also want to be seen as consistent in my beliefs and actions. So they've said, I see email and SMS marketing as important. I have invested in that and I've paid you, which further demonstrates that I believe that, okay? They've taken that next step in proving that, demonstrating that to you. When you then further pitch them tangential services and you pivot and you position those as being and having additional value, it's going to be very difficult for them to say, I don't see the value in that, and therefore not go forward with that offer. Okay, so in summary, what I recommend is making sure that if your offer is commoditized, you change it and you make a dramatic transformation. Number 2, if you haven't yet already packaged together your service and what you are delivering work-wise, you productize it and you package it into an initial build. And then the third point of summary here is that in order to charge up front, you have to over-deliver, but the fact that you have charged up front doesn't mean that you can avoid or have to avoid charging retainers and ongoing projected consistent cash flow, okay? And you achieve that through the cross-sell and downsell. So if you are in your agency at any point, my phone is ringing, I've got to end this video here, drop a comment below, let me know how you're getting on, and pop your questions below and I'll be more than happy to help. All right, cheers.